Hey friends, and welcome to my first ever episode of 5 Quick, where I give you either 5 quick facts or 5 quick tips. Now today I'm going to tell you about solo travel and some tips of how to do that, and most importantly for we young folk, how to travel on a budget. You may wonder what qualifies me to talk about solo travel and saving money while abroad. Well, that's because I just recently took a trip to Ireland last month. If you haven't seen those vlogs, check them out. Shameless self-promo. I'm a planner. I've been in education for a while, so it's in my blood. But I do suggest to plan your trip out. It doesn't have to be detailed like lunch at 1:30 and tour of the cathedral at 5. Mine was roughly like that, but don't feel pressured to do so. I also suggest having a variety of activities. Organized tours are fun and great, but they don't give you much freedom. They allow you to see a lot though and travel further than you might be able to without a car in a foreign country. So what I did, I would do one day a bus tour. I went to the Cliffs of Moher, I went up to Northern Ireland, and then I had free days too, where I would visit museums on my own time, just walk around, get lost, and sometimes it's when you get lost that you find your favorite things and good food and cool little shops you might not have noticed at the typical tourist areas. My second piece of advice is to use Airbnb, but to be very mindful of where your Airbnb is located. Ask your hosts, is it close to transit? Because if you're living like 25 minutes out of town, it's gonna cost you more for transit than if you just paid a little bit more for the place to stay and you were downtown. Dublin looks small on the map, that's all I'll say, but convenient transportation will really be a great asset to any place that you're staying. So whether it's a hostel, Airbnb, hotel, check out the location, because you might want to just pay a little bit more there and be in a better place where you can just walk out your door and explore than to have to travel an hour away every morning, for instance. Also, Airbnb has some great experiences. I got my photos taken, I took a walking tour, all for a good price. So definitely check that out, because it's not something everyone knows about. They think of Airbnb as a place to stay, but it's also a place to find activities. My third tip for traveling solo and on a budget is to have one nice meal a day. When we're traveling, we really want to experience the culture and the food and the cuisine that is unique to the country we are in. But on a budget, eating out really can hurt you. So what I did, I limited myself to one fancy meal a day. Most of my Airbnbs offered breakfast. If not, I went to the store, picked up some fruit, some buns. As for lunch, I would typically go to McDonald's or an Irish fast food chain, or just buy a sandwich at the corner store. So something more simple. Then for supper, that's when I'd experience the delicious pub fish and chips. By doing that, you can still have that time to explore food without having to pay 40 euros for a meal. My fourth tip is to download all those transit apps. So I downloaded quite a few when I was in Ireland, in Galway and Dublin, the ones unique to each city, as well as the train apps and the taxi app. And this really helps because it'll give you more guidance. Google Maps can take you a long way, but sometimes you need to know when is the bus coming to know if you're going to be on time for your next adventure. Also, don't be afraid to turn your data on. I highly suggest before you leave the country, go to your service provider and ask about their international plans. Mine is $12 a day, so when I really felt lost and my downloaded map wasn't making sense, I just turned my data on and I actually got more out of the day because I knew where the heck I was going. Because you can ask, oh, how do I get here? And 10 different people will tell you 10 different directions. And my final tip, this one is more so leaning towards the solo trip aspect, is to go somewhere that's not too culturally shocking if this is your first time abroad. My first time abroad was when I went to Japan with my school group. Being with people I know, having a guide, even though it was a culture shock, I didn't speak the language, everything was very different, very beautiful, but much different than Canada, of course, but at least I was with people. When I went to Ireland, one of the aspects, well actually honestly the reason I chose Ireland was because it was the cheapest European country to go to, and I am a quarter Irish, but I chose a country where English is still spoken, the food is similar, and general life is similar. Of course, still very different than here, but I think if it's your first time getting out there, you really gotta dip your toes in the water before you fully dive. But I mean, don't be afraid to go yonder, just make sure you're prepared for the experience. So like I said, maybe lead up to it before you head to Egypt. Also, you can consult the Canadian government website or whatever government you belong to and they'll usually tell you if you should visit a country or avoid it at all costs. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick 5. Have a wonderful day, friends. See you.